right, welcome in everybody here to the part of that nature, and it's kind of a very unique, cool stream because we haven't done enough of those today. We needed one more. So, but yeah, I'm doing a little part of the nature, a little after. I'm not gonna call it after dark. It's still sunny outside at 7:00, but just got done hearing from Bobby Petrino and the offense coordinator for Arkansas. A lot of interesting things, but guys, before we play some of the clips and get into some of the topics, what'd y'all think overall of Petrino's presser?
I mean, there's two things that I appreciate about Bobby Petrino. One, when he's just full of smiles, and he was today, and it's never. I mean, in some cases you get the full on smile, but sometimes it's almost like he's hiding a grin. It tells me that there's certain things that he's confident about or feels good about, or maybe you strike a nerve with a question and he's like, good one. But I also just appreciate his honesty. He gets to the point, man, and he really calls it the way he sees it. And even when he's saying things that aren't overly positive, which you get a lot of that Kool-Aid in camp, when he's saying, hey, yeah, we were behind on this and we got to get better, or yeah, that's a concern and we've got to fix it. I still walk away feeling better about it at the end because he's just he's a smooth operator, man.
Yeah, he was in a good mood. I really appreciated hearing from him. It reminded me, it was a DVH-esque presser, I feel like. Maybe not quite as much rambling. Like, I feel like DVH would have rambled a little bit more and given you a little, but Petrino, like you said, he's short, straight to the point, honest. He spoke highly of some guys that we kind of expected him to speak highly of, said some good things about Taylor Green, spoke kind of threw some shots at some other guys. And,
that was awesome.
Just like, I thought he just was honest, and it felt like he was just having a conversation up there. Whereas a lot of times you see throughout fall camp, we're hearing from literally everybody that's ever been associated with the football program. And a lot of times you can tell this is a very press conference-esque thing, but like it got to the point where like other reporters were just kind of going back and forth. It felt like they were just having a conversation with them, which is why it felt a little bit more authentic. But yeah, he touched on a lot of things that we kind of wanted to hear him touch on, specifically the O-line. And I thought it was a very effective Tuesday night presser.
Nice work.
I mean, I think the most important thing is that he is going to be on the sidelines. He's not going to be in the booth. He's not going to be calling plays from up there. So
yeah, and that's cool. Yeah. And he said that he actually enjoyed being in the booth last year, which a different purview for him. But I was really hoping that would be the case with him on the sidelines, and whatever that over under was on the amount of times he was going to be shown per game. Was it like 2.5 that we had the other day? They're going to have to double that, man.
Yeah, because with that, and of course now having the quarterbacks with the microphone or whatever in the headsets, so
yeah,
it's going to be interesting. There's some things we can talk about from that, but let's start with the quarterback because we know that that's Taylor Green, and we know that he has looked really good at times, but there's also been some times maybe he struggled a little bit. But this is Petrino talking about Taylor Green and being pretty impressed with him.
Technique things. How do you feel like he has done in that area? Do you ever catch him reverting some bad habits and stuff? And what are your thoughts overall on him and his ability to lead the team?
Really excited about how coachable he's been and how much improvement he's made. He's setting the way I want him to set now. He's got his delivery where it needs to be. There's every now and then where he'll drop down a little bit and revert back to some old habits. But I really like how coachable he is and how much he works at it. And I think this week he's been as good as he's been. His accuracy and making all the different throws, and he can really throw it down the field, but he can also make them medium range throws you have to make to move the sticks.
So reverting back to some of the old things, it just makes me wonder, like, is it maybe the carelessness of it? Maybe is it the decisions, reverting back to what, I guess would be my question for Taylor Green.
I mean, he hasn't really been the most accurate quarterback over the course of his career, and it sounds like they really spent a lot of time tweaking some things in that throwing motion. And it's over the top Taylor now. I mean, that's what they want him, going over the top of that throwing motion. And, maybe sometimes he's getting back to old habits and dropping down a little bit. And I wonder if that factors in at all to, like, they say tipped balls for some of these interceptions. Are those getting tipped at the line of scrimmage, or are they getting tipped by receivers or D-backs and then caught? But maybe it is a situation where it's like, hey, brother, you are 6 feet 6 inches tall, and you need to go over the top. That way you can throw over these guys. And when you've built habits for so long, it's hard to break them and create new ones. So I imagine it's something they continue to have to talk to him about.
OTTTG, over the top, Taylon Green. I like
That's
that,
right.
Curtis.
Yeah,
y'all ready for some
absolutely.
Kool-Aid? Y'all ready for it? Because I'm about to deliver it right to your door.
All right.
What I hear Bobby Petrino saying there is, I have molded Taylon perfectly into the perfect quarterback. I was exactly what he needed. We had a talented young man, a tall, athletic guy who had the right mental makeup, just needed a little bit of fine tuning. And it sounds like he's gotten a little bit of that from Bobby Petrino this summer. And it seems like, I think, Curtis, you nailed it there with a lot of the, the footwork, the accuracy aspect of it. I mean, we're talking about a guy who completed 59%. And I just think back to Ryan Mallett and Tyler Wilson. Footwork and when the ball comes out and timing, all those things are of the essence in the Bobby Petrino offense. And so I feel like, you're as a quarterback in the Bobby Petrino offense, you're challenged a lot. There's a lot they put on your plate. And Taylon seems to be up to the challenge mentally and physically. It seems like he's making those strides and encouraging his coach with what he's seeing.
Well, and two, you bring up Ryan Mallett and Tyler Wilson and everything. I mean, up until Lamar Jackson, really, Petrino wasn't exactly known for having these dual threat, beat you with their legs type of quarterbacks. I mean, Mallett and Wilson, they literally, it was their arm and their decision making. That's what made them great. That's what it was able to do. And Lamar Jackson, here's the thing I've always felt about Lamar Jackson, what set him apart and why Petrino was so great with this is how many quarterbacks are out there that can run and do things with their legs? I mean, Nick Marshall went to the national championship, playing quarterback. It's it's possible. But what sets you apart from all the other players is you going out there and using your arm and making great throws. So that's the problem. And that's the thing that, as we had a little cameo here, I guess.
I'm out, bro. What are we doing?
Yeah.
He was ready. He needed to be up here.
He's been causing trouble this week. Low key. Birthday week. He's acting out, bro.
Yeah, he's really been out of pocket the last couple of days. So
well, listen, he just wants to hear more about Petrino talk too. I can understand. It's the most important part. So yeah, we got from a little bit about Taylon and what's going on with him. Offensive line, though, is what we've all talked about and been some concerns there. But Petrino was asked about offensive line and where they're kind of standing at right now.
Yeah, I've always been hard on the biggest surprise and the biggest this and that, but I think what we started when we first started out, the thing that shocked me the most was that we were a little bit behind the defensive line as far as how we ended spring and running the ball and protecting the quarterback. And I felt like it took us 4 or 5 days. We started getting better, came at it. Another couple days, we're better. And now I feel like our offensive line is working together and starting to see what we saw at the end of spring ball and starting to actually go past where I feel like we were at the end of spring ball, and we're executing and doing both, being able to run the ball and throw it. And you got to do both.
So quite a different approach to what we thought from the offensive line just week ago, if that.
Well, I feel like you could take that in a couple ways. Like on one hand, I hear what he says and I'm like, okay, well, good. Like they've gotten caught up and now they're making some progress. That's what you want to hear. But on the other hand, it's like, okay, so what you're saying here is you're just now getting back to where you were at the end of spring. So how far are you behind from where you want to be going into the season? So I guess depending on, glass half empty, glass half full, you could take that a couple different ways, maybe.
I took it through the lens of the most positive, of course, the most optimistic point of view. But I took it, at least when I was listening to them, as how they felt about the O-line in spring. Because think about it, we all felt pretty good about the group. I'm sure they did as well. Mm-hmm. And so I think maybe he meant their confidence was shaken a little bit in that group early in fall camp. And I think we kind of echoed that on the stream whenever we hear Bobby Petrino saying that. And so maybe he means like, hey, we're kind of back to that level. There's fewer mistakes and we're now exceeding where we were even at. And so they feel better and better about the group. Do I believe him completely? Not quite. But I do think that what he means, I guess, is they're kind of back to feeling confident about that group. And he feels like they're, playing together now. And also, I guess it seems like they've gotten Patrick Kudus, maybe not back into the fold completely, but seems like he's at least practicing to some extent, which helps.
Those were a savvy choice of words by Bobby Petrino talking about Patrick Kudus there, knowing that media is, no longer allowed in practices. They've kind of closed it down for after camp here. He had to be very careful about what he said. And I think he was he doesn't have to be coached up, but he had a game plan going into. He knew he was going to get asked that question.
Oh yeah, yeah, and going back also to the because we'll play a clip from about Patrick Kudus, but the offensive line thing, that's I guess what was really concerning to me, because when you have saying that you had it where you felt like it should be at the end of spring, and then the beginning of fall, it's bad. Like it just like reverted back. It just makes me wonder what happened. Like how does that happen? Like is it simply they just forgot how to do things? Is it they got lazy? Is it because of because listen, we've talked to the offensive line personally, guys. Those are some smart dudes. Like they're very intelligent and they are very hardworking. They're very so I just wonder what was the disconnect from into spring to the beginning of fall?
I would probably chalk it up to maybe the D line got better and losing Kudus is not good. And you're not as deep as maybe people claim you are.
Well, I mean, and if that's the case, at least it makes sense.
Losing Kudus, that's a disruption in the force of what they had going on.
Yeah. Well, if
like that, Andrew.
That was very good. I can't believe he just said that. Wow.
Was it? I thought it was a disturbance in the force. I think you got close.
I was going to let it slide. It's all good. It's all good. There's been all kinds of references, vergences. There's been, yeah.
Or as long as it's not the never mind. I'm not going to get that through that. So speaking of Patrick Kudus and Marion Harris, talk about offensive line specifically.
He's back doing some work. Yeah, he's back doing some work, and that's really encouraging to us. And I feel good about it. And I think Coach Pitt's the one that knows more about that than I do. But he has been back out there doing some work.
If he isn't able to play, how confident are you in Marion Harris there?
Very confident. Marion's done a really nice job. I think that's what's helped us a lot in this last week and a half, and our improvement and our confidence together and working together is him jumping in there at that left guard and doing a really, really good job.
So yeah, selective is like he's been doing some stuff in practice.
Yeah. He's back doing some work. Could mean
more about it. I was like, so has he been out there or not? Like, if you haven't seen him, then I guess he hasn't been doing that much.
He's back doing some work. Could mean he's with the with injury row over there with the strength and conditioning staff doing abs or whatever, on the side. It could mean that he's in a green jersey and working his way back. It could mean that he's walking around and counting the daps for whoever they had assigned that to for the offensive line, or it could mean he's back out there in full pads, knocking people around. There's a lot to be inferred from that. Who knows?
Use your imagination. But
That's right.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It doesn't sound to me like he's really back at practice. Like he might be out there. All indications based on what we've heard, just kind of the vibe we're getting, and even talking to some folks behind the scenes, I feel like Marion Harris is kind of set to make the start at, I guess it'll be his first career start. Because he played a lot in that Liberty Bowl, but he didn't start that game. Takias Crawford did.
Right.
But yeah, so Marion Harris, first career start there at left guard. That's a big deal. And I mean, against UAPB, you definitely don't worry too much about it. What I like, though, is that the offensive line has had some improvement, and it hasn't involved Kudus being back at practice, if that makes sense. I think the nickel's moving around, and maybe we're going to have him at guard. Maybe we have him at center. I think that was probably a little bit bigger of an issue than they let on. And I think once they got that figured out, all right, with Kudus out, here's our best five. We just plug in Marion Harris and we're good to go. I think they realized that was the correct move, because as soon as Kudus left, they moved Nichols to guard, and they're like, everything sucks. Now that they've cleaned that up, it seems like the vibes have gotten a little bit better. Am I misinterpreting that?
No, I think you're 100% right. Like, don't patch up one hole by creating another. And it seems like maybe that's what they were doing by, you got one guy go out and you start shifting people around all over the place. Well, if you have an option there where you can plug and play and leave the other four right where they're at, sounds like it's an easier solution to me.
Yeah. And one of the other offensive linemen that got mentioned was Addison Nichols. And Petrino just very direct about his response to the question.
Addison, huh? He doesn't really figure it out yet. He's got the freedom to do exactly what we tell him to do. That's always the freedom we give the quarterback. But I've been impressed with our quarterbacks. They understand the run game, and that helps our offensive line a lot. And I've always felt like if you go into a game as a quarterback and you come out 100% in the run game, you grade out 100% in the run game, So in other words, we didn't run the ball into a bad play. We got out of a bad play into a good play. We have a great chance to win the game. So we've worked extremely hard at that. And for the line, it helps some, I guess, because they don't have to block every single look, and they're anticipating. And we're telling them sometimes what's happening. Hey, we're telling you the nose is going to slant to the opposite A gap, and certain communications that we have. So I imagine they like that.
Addison, huh?
That was pretty good. That was pretty good. And the question was, I mean, it was funny, but I guess one of the things Addison was talking about when he was getting interviewed the other day was, hey, I really love all the freedom we have to make checks at the line of scrimmage, whatever. And yeah, that response from Bobby was solid. I really like that.
And by the way, if the non-ball knowers will like this because this is educational time for them. What they were talking about, it seemed to me, was the quarterback's ability to kind of adjust at the line of scrimmage, flip plays. And Bobby even talked about how at his previous stops, he had stopped doing that as much because other coaches were having trouble with it and stuff like that. I'm guessing when he was at Missouri State. But yeah, I think Talon, that's another thing is he mentioned them wanting to be 100% in the run game. They want to give the quarterback all that stuff. And I think that's just another level of how much these guys can play with confidence, knowing we can do whatever we want. If Talon doesn't like what he sees, he's going to flip it. And Talon's done more film work than any of us, so they kind of just trust him. And I just think it adds to that connective tissue with this offense. And it sounds like a lot of fun, even if you're catching a few strays. It's funny because it's Petrino who's been – no, it was Mateos that was talking bad about Carmona when he was like, well, he needs to block Landon Jackson better.
Yeah, before I call him a bookend. Yeah.
Yeah. Now Addison Nichols catching strays, the transfers, man. There's just no love for the transfers around here.
No. In fact, I was thinking Petrino's – it's going to be a kind of a weird comparison, but like Bobby Petrino seems like Quentin Tarantino as a director. He's like, I write stuff and you read it. You don't improvise. I write it and you have to read it. But the only times that he's done it is when it was like, Leonardo DiCaprio or somebody like that. So it's like, oh yeah, I'll let you do it if you're that level of a person, but you don't come in here and try to improv because of, you're going to do exactly what I say, how I say it, or else you're not going to play. So I think he's kind of earned that, Petrino. You have to. It's an orchestra. Everything has to be on the same page.
That's right.
Let's see. Also, some interception talk. Because remember, they threw 8 the other day in that scrimmage. That was a big talking point. So Petrino was asked about those interceptions.
Pretty good about that not being an issue going forward.
We're working on it. I mean, we're still learning and developing and finding out what we can do at each quarterback. And we do know that tip balls get intercepted, and we've got to do a better job with that. But yeah, Talon had 2 interceptions. One was a tip ball, could have been caught. Nice play by the defensive back that broke the play up, and then another guy made the catch. So, and then Malachi, got a couple of picks against the one defense, which was unfortunate for him. He usually takes care of the ball pretty well.
Okay, so that accounts for 4 picks. Still looking for the other ones, but yeah, once again, Petrino's beginning answer kind of says it all. We're working on that. He's scratching his arm. It's like, no, it still seems to still be a problem they're still trying to work on, but it's what can you say other than just, hey, we're working on it?
Yeah, no, I mean that's what they've got to do, and yeah, whatever, tip ball, no tip ball. There's a lot of interceptions. Obviously, it's an area that they've got to get better at there. And yeah, 2 of them from Talon Green. That makes me feel a lot better than if it was like, I actually threw 6 of them, and it was a little bit rough there. So I think what I took away from that more than anything was kind of what he said about Singleton, because he's really emerged as that number 2 guy there. And going against the ones defense. So you're like, okay, well, he's playing against the starters. Well, if you get in a game, you're going to be playing against, really good players and somebody else's starters. But like he said, hey, maybe it was an uncharacteristic thing, an off day for him, because from the sounds of it, he, pretty much does a good job of taking care of the ball. I don't remember him throwing a ton of interceptions, even dating back to last year watching him. So maybe it's just a bad day.
Yeah, Talon, I feel like, is more of the risk taker of the 2. Yeah. I feel like, like you said, Malachi doesn't, he takes good care of the ball pretty much. It does seem like that was the kind of the vibe I was getting. When you're listening to Pittman recap the scrimmage, we're all just using our imaginations. I can't remember what it was he said exactly, but I got that impression that the 2 offense stunk. And I didn't realize they were going up against the one defense. So it kind of makes a little bit of sense. But yeah, it seems like a little bit of like some tough love for a kid that is, kind of needs it at this time of year. I mean, he hasn't had those snaps yet, but I also love the simplicity of Bobby being asked, like, have y'all worked on the interceptions? Like that's a point of emphasis that quarterbacks in the film room, they're like, hey, don't throw interceptions, guys. We're not going to do that. It's like, it's not how this works exactly. It's like, have y'all worked on making more 3-pointers? Are y'all going to do that this time? It's like,
yeah.
Sure. We'll emphasize that in the meeting room for sure.
I used to love it when they would ask us, like, what are you guys doing to work on your free throws? Well, we're shooting them. I don't, but no, that's true. And I don't know, man. It was good to hear from him. I feel like I got some clarity on some things that we just didn't get that from out of the scrimmage. He was saying, kind of like you alluded to, sounds like the 2 offense really struggled against the 1 defense. Sound like the 3s really struggled. And then with the 1s, he said, maybe a little bit of a slow start. And then they had the 70-yard touchdown, and then they were really good in situational. Okay, cool.
I just think it's funny that, like what Andrew was talking about with getting asked about that and trying to improve on things that you don't want to have happen in games. It's like, that's kind of the thing where if you're like Petrino handling it, just like, yeah, we're working on it. I actually appreciate that more than like some of the answers when coaches either try to like make a mountain out of a molehill and be like, oh, actually, this is what we've been doing and, like this. And, it's just, hey, you work on it. You got to get better at it. Stop turning the ball over.
What we've done is we've given all the defensive backs oversized fly swatters to use. That way they can just, deflect more balls. So we got to be really precise. And I mean, come on.
Yeah.
We got fishing nets out there. You can't throw it into these windows,
Hey, David Lee, the old offense coordinator under Houston Nutt at the end of his tenure at Arkansas, that he had ladders. He put ladders on the field and you had to throw it over the ladders.
There you go.
So,
well, what is it? I guess it was a couple years ago. They brought the boxing mitts out, and it was like, "Hey, stop holding." So we're gonna take your ability to do that away.
Yeah. Well, I was going to bring up a Chad Morris thing, but I'm not going to. I don't want to ruin it.
We don't do that around here anymore.
So, I'll tell you what. We're going to get to some of the comments real quick, but I wanted to bring up this one because this is actually kind of interesting to talk about. This comes from BFXP Ronnie. How are we at kickers since Cam left? Well, I'll tell you what. Let's ask Bobby Petrino. What does Bobby Petrino think of the kickers? Let's ask him.
I don't watch the kicker. I quit watching kickers after last year's experience. I don't watch him at all. Not in practice, not nothing. I don't watch. I ask him, did he make it? And they say yes or no. And that's all I know about kicking the ball. I've been around some great kickers. Now we had the Lou Groza kicker winner at Louisville one year, and little Art Carmody. And we had a heck of a kicker here when I was here. But last year's experience made me quit watch and don't watch practice. And then hopefully they'll make it in the game. But I know this, when it's a 2-minute drive, we're going to go try to score a touchdown.
Okay, so really funny comment there, but I was talking with Curtis before we started. I was like, I kept forgetting, like, what was it at Texas A&M that was the experience? And I looked it up, what their kicking situation was last year. There's a lot of things that happened here, but their kicker, Randy Bond, was his name. Okay, he hit 74% of his field goals, but I don't know if you guys knew this. He had 26 field goals and missed, or of 35 attempts. He was 26 of 35. That is a ton of field goals. That's a lot. He was 9 of 9 from 20 to 30 yards. He was 8 for 10, 30 to 39. He was 5 for 6, 50 plus yards. But 40 to 49, he was 4 for 10.
Oh, wow.
So I assume that's what the experience he was talking about was those 40 to 49 yard field goals just didn't do well for him.
Yeah. Wow. There you go. I didn't realize that was a thing for them.
I didn't either.
What did you think about him not being able to pull Zach Hocker's name? He couldn't come up with it. He knew that Arkansas had a really good kicker when he was there, but he didn't say his name.
He doesn't care, man.
He does not care.
He's so ultra focused, and it was a little bit different then, I guess, obviously. But yeah, now he is really leaning into, look, I am focused on my offense, the opponent's defense. I don't give up about anything else. He really doesn't. He's talking about Oklahoma State even. He was like, Yeah, whatever. They're tough defense. Yeah, okay. I don't know anything about their offense. Haven't watched them.
Yeah.
Kickers, don't watch them. Sorry.
Yeah. I thought we had that established pretty early in the spring that Petrino does not do anything else but offense. That's it.
NIL? Nah.
Nope. No NIL. No, you're walking over there saying, hey, coach, what do you think of the punt return? He's not the head coach as much as a lot of you want him to be and think that he actually is. He's not. He's just focused on offense. So, and the fact that we got all the information on all 4 tight ends today in the press conference was impressive. But it's just like, jeez, man, it's Bobby Petrino. He's not, you think he's like watching, Vito Calvaruso over there and just being like, yeah, hey, it's Taylor, you need me? Sorry, hold on. Let me see if he makes this kick. Oh, yeah, I like the form. Like, come on, man.
Hey, Scott Fountain, watch Talon for a minute. Let me get over here and
yeah. Dang it, Scott.
I gotta check out this hands game.
Throwing Scott under the bus yesterday and just being like, yeah, his favorite Pittman quote was him yelling at Scott Fountain.
Yeah, that was intense, man. That was intense.
One thing that he did say that I thought was interesting, that he was asked about how many wide receivers, he wanted for the rotation and fit in the games, and he was basically saying, well, we've got to have 5 to 6. We would like to have 7 to 8. We have no idea who they are yet. We're still tinkering with that. So there you go. I know we've been talking about, man, all these guys behind, the who we're presuming to be the top 3, and it's like they might have some tough decisions to make when it comes to who travels or who's in the rotation on a given week. And based on that, I don't feel any different after what he had to say there.
When I heard that number 5 to 6, where you've got to have that, I was like, I feel like they're going to just play 5 or 6. I really that was my immediate reaction, was like, that's the minimum amount. And I feel like that's what he's going to try and cut it down to. Because say you really do have 7 guys who are good. How are you going to do? How are you going to get that 7th guy? Be like, well, we got to get, Monte Harrison in there. We got to take Andrew Armstrong out because we got to get this guy in. It's like, I don't think that when the bullets are flying, as Curtis says, I don't think that's going to happen much.
And that's why I think, because what he was saying about we'd like to have 7 or 8. And he basically said, in the event that somebody gets hurt and we got to have, whatever. That's why I feel like those last couple spots on the travel roster might go, is Jordan Anthony one of those top guys? I don't know. But if he can also have a role on special teams or whatever, it's those guys who are going to get the nod, maybe over a more qualified, I guess, if that's the best term, receiver. It's going to be interesting, man.
It's like an NFL 53-man roster, man. You gotta bring it all to the table, man. Thank God for Tyrone Broden and his gunning skills and and his return skills. That's what's also funny about it is 2 of your top I guess Broden's not going to play special teams this year, but Satania and Broden are 2 of your best receivers and your best special teams contributors.
Yeah.
Well, and also, the wide receiver point where, you're talking about 5 to 6. I always look back to the Petrino offenses that he had at Arkansas in 2011, wide receiver wise. You had Jarius Wright, who had over 1,000 yards. He was big. Joe Adams, Kobe Hamilton. And then you had Greg Childs, who, kind of took a step back but he had 240 yards. The 5th wide receiver that you had with actual legit stats or any stats was Javonte Herndon at 137 yards for the year and 8 catches. So it's that's the 5th guy. And then I was kind of surprised to see Marquell Wade, really. He only had 8 catches for 62 yards. But the point is that even in times before, Petrino's always just had 4 wide receivers pretty much and using them. So, but who knows, maybe somebody else will step up. All right. Before we wrap up real quick, there was a few comments I wanted to bring up. Hey, shout out to Heartbroken Hog. Look at that. Hey, man, look at that. He's making it worthwhile. He's paying our salaries over here. He says, all right, let's freaking go bounce back here. 7-5 TG will have 2,750 yards passing and 700 yards rushing and 30 total touchdowns. Let's have some fun and turn up that damn jukebox.
If you're throwing out those stats for Taylor Green, boy, do we have a surprise for you with the story that we're going to publish and something that we're going to talk about tomorrow. How's that for a tease?
That is a good tease.
Beautiful tease.
I like that, Curtis. I like that.
Yeah, that's a beautiful tease there.
Hey, listen, if he does that, Arkansas, all these people who are in here, with the Kool-Aid tonight saying 8 wins, 8 wins, maybe. Yeah, if Taylor Green does that, 8 wins.
Mm-hmm. I think what he described there, that's 7-5. I think those stats equate to 7-5. Frankly,
maybe so. Yeah.
Just that alone, I'm for it. I would be shocked if he did, but still, you never know.
I will say, I don't think those numbers right there are that crazy. I really don't. I weirdly enough, I think his passing, I think he's going to be closer to 3,000 passing and maybe 500 on the rushing. I really don't think like those numbers. I mean, in college football these days, I know Arkansas's offense last year doesn't make you believe this, but in college football these days, it's not that hard to score. You know, you get in some of these shootouts, 42-38. You know, I think Arkansas is gonna be moving the ball a decent amount, but it's all about can they perform in the red zone? Because in 2022 they really didn't do that, and last year they didn't perform anywhere.
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
They didn't perform at any point in any yard line. They were bad.
Yeah. Judah also says he's like, the one position I was worried about before camp was linebacker, and at this point I think that's our deepest room. Apparently so.
They've
Welcome
been
to fall
saying it.
camp.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel better about I feel a hell of a lot better about it right now than I did at the end of spring. I'll say that.
Yeah.
But we'll see how deep they really are.
Yep. All right. Well, any final thoughts, guys, before we get out of here?
It's always good talking to Bobby P. That was good.
Yeah, it is. It is good.
Always good talking to Bobby P. And for anyone that says, hey, man, this was too short of a stream, you guys, whatever. One, it's our third of the day. And two, we're going to be right back tomorrow. You know, it's not like Inside Arkansas Live is going anywhere. And we, like Curtis said, we've got some fun stuff in the works. I'm excited for some of the content we're going to produce here in the next 5 to 6 days.
Yeah, I thought we had a good thing going with camp, but man, it just gets monotonous after a while. But yeah, we're getting close to game week. I mean, what is tomorrow? Tomorrow's Wednesday. Is that right? Today's Tuesday. It's all running together right now, but we're almost just a week away from football is what I'm getting at. So yeah, we'll get to start the season projections and the game week stuff. It's going to be exciting, man.
Yep.
It's
going to
time.
be awesome. So appreciate everybody watching and listening. Be sure to subscribe to Inside Arkansas. Check out our website at InsideArkansas.com. Enjoy the rest of your night. We'll see you tomorrow live for Inside Arkansas Live starting at noon. See you then.